Hello, this is Jake Beeman with Golden Fox Farms. Today I'm going to talk about this hive that's been in the background of several of my videos. This colony has a bit of a backstory that's probably given away by the fact it is not standard at all. This hive was actually called into our swarm hotline. An old ex-beekeeper had stored their old equipment underneath their porch, and a colony had moved in, and this is that colony. Now, there was a lot of work to be done when we went to go get this thing. Case in point, when we started, this thing was 4 boxes high or so and didn't have a bottom on it. What had happened was the boxes had been stacked straight to keep a colony from moving in, but they got knocked and shifted, and the colony moved in at the gap between the boxes. To close the colony back up and to be able to transport it, I would need to be able to line all that stuff up so I could move the colony without a bunch of bees coming out. So the first thing I did was chisel out the corner because the corner had gone soft in the wood there. So when I realigned the boxes, the bees still had an entrance, and I could just seal that shut when I came back that evening. I also shifted the hive stack onto one of my migratory covers. This migratory cover that's still under it gave me a solid base I could strap to with my ratchet strap and feel comfortable it wasn't going to fall apart, giving me a way to move this thing as one unit. I would pick it up that evening and transport it. We actually were racing a tornado warning home with that hive, so it was a now or never kind of thing, and placed it here in the yard where it sits today. Now, the next day, I would get in the hive and try to figure out what I had. What I can say about this box is it's not in great condition, rather this hive, it's not in great condition. Like you can see the amount of rot present on this thing. I can push in on this last finger of that top super. Ideally, when you find one like this, they're just in the top of the hive. You just take the top half. But this one's actually on the right side and made a column, a narrower column going from at least the third box down up, if not in the bottom box as well. So what I'm going to do is open up this hive, see what I can keep in service, see what I can get rid of, see if I can reduce them down to a single or a double box, more common hive arrangement than this, because this is full of a bunch of empty space right now. Another aspect of this was old wax foundation, old Kelly's equipment from the inside that I saw. All of that wax is gone. Wax moths took out everything. So it was mostly spider webs when these bees actually moved in. So they're probably building foundationless. They might be in line with frames, they might not. And that'll be something we have to deal with or correct. And I also know not every box has all its frames. This top box only has 8 frames, if I remember correctly. So we'll open it up, move slowly, and see what we can do. Now, this hive was open bottom. It didn't actually have a bottom board. And what I did was I nursed it on top of a migratory top of my own because I knew that was solid. I knew that would survive transport. The rest of the hive is a bit iffy. Oh, the inner cover just came with my fingertips. Nothing going on there. They're below this, which is fine. That means they're not using this top box. So I can take this top box out. And this is what happens to these when they're left to the wax moths. Any comb that had cocoon in it gets destroyed and removed. This frame is pretty much toast, but we'll find frames that are even more pronounced in here, like this one. I'm surprised there's even comb at all in these and they're not just totally empty. This actually isn't as bad as some of them I've seen, because I've seen them to where this is full of spider webs. Another side note, they did not crosswire these frames, so they're not very useful. You have to take it apart to re-foundation them. These are also the old Kelly drop frames, so the foundation comes in from the top on these. That said, I can shove plastic foundation in here and make that work. So that's probably what's going to happen to these frames long term. Really, I almost guarantee that's what's going to happen to these frames long term, because plastic is just so much easier to use. You do have to kind of ramrod it into these boxes though, or into those frames. I'll salvage the frames, but the box itself is toast. Now this is where we're going to start encountering the actual bee colony. There's comb here, and I can tell you already it's cross-combed in this spot here. And the way I can tell that is I can see it leaping between frames. See how that comb's coming across this way? There's fully a chance the comb's attached to both of these bars. So we'll have to be careful as we approach this. And this might be a relatively small swarm colony. And if that's the case, again, we got Kelly drop frames in this box, which are just garbage. But oh hell, look at that. That's unexpected. I really didn't expect to find anything useful in there. There is a remote chance the bees will reuse this stuff. A lot of times when the foundation gets old, they'll just chew it out. Oh, that's peculiar. They're mostly in the box below. I'm surprised to see that. I think what I'm going to do is remove everything they haven't built on so far. I'm going to take the frames I'm salvaging out and put them in a separate box rather than handling them several times. When you use a bee brush, just quick little short hits. If you do a long, slow drag, that's what aggravates them if you do a long, slow drag. And here we can start to see how they're building this comb a little crooked and how it's bridging on different frames, not really following a straight line. It's a little canted. It actually grew into the wire on that one frame. That's something we'll need to work on correcting. You want to correct twisted comb or off-kilter comb as early as you can because it makes everything easier later. What I'm going to do is I'll check and see if there's brood in here because I don't know if this colony is queen right. But what I'll also see if I can get some frames with foundation in here, plastic foundation. And if I can, I'm going to separate these frames and actually put that plastic between these partially drawn frames because that'll act like a comb guide for them as they draw out the rest of this box. No brood on that one. That's honey stores on this one. Honey and a little pollen. Okay. We might have some challenges below this box. Because what I'm seeing is the frame beneath this one isn't there. And there's definitely comb in that space. So there's a chance we're going to have some oddball comb to deal with beneath this box. There's a chance actually there's a sheet of comb hanging from this frame. So let's find out what we have. Okay, there is definitely a sheet of comb beneath this, but it's burrowed into the wall next door. So we can go ahead and liberate this frame. And what I think I'll do is just knock off that bit of comb that's attached there. Yeah, that's exactly what I'll do. I'll knock off that bit of comb there and I'll put a empty top bar above that and let those bees reattach that to the top bar. So next time I get in there, I won't have this. All right. And since I haven't seen brood in this top box, I will go ahead and foundation this and separate these to convince them to draw those straight. I'll leave that in place and let them do their best with it. I will need to get this box up to get into that bottom box and address that freestyle comb. And that foundation will help them keep this stuff straight. Assuming they use the foundation and don't just build giant wings on the foundation that's high frames, which I have seen happen before.
I'm going to reserve that wax foundation for use in stronger hives. So I'm not sure this hive's going to use it as it is, but I can give it to a big hive that'll use it regardless. This isn't propylized together, which is a bit conspicuous to me. I think the bees probably have not been in here that long. So this is our freestyle comb spot. You can see the comb's just a little cattywampus. I can see all the way through these. So all of these frames have had the foundation or comb removed by wax moths, probably. There's a chance this slightly crooked comb extends to about here, because that's where the bees are. So what I'll do is I'll remove this furthest frame and see what I can do and work backwards. And I really don't want to slide these frames over, because I don't know what all is holding what on this side close to me. So I'm just gonna be ginger about this. Oh man. Now this did have foundation in it, if I had to guess. That said, I see nothing in there. So I might be mistaken. Okay. But what I can see is tremendous amounts of wax cocoon damage. You see all those little flashes on the outside edge of the box? That is wax moth damage. And when the wax moths pupate, they put these little indentations in the wood. That can be a real problem actually with the old Kelly frames, because the old Kelly frames had such thin shoulders, such thin ears or tops on them, that a little bit of damage would make them fail. All right, we already got comb on this one. They are building fairly straight on that one. Let's see if we get lucky twice. These are... Is this a deep box? Well, how about that? That first frame I pulled out is a deep frame, but this is a medium box. So this frame actually descended into the bottom box space, as you might be able to see there, witnessed on the outside edge. Somebody was just storing equipment in there. And that is also a deep frame, isn't it? Yeah, deep frame and a medium box. So we actually are going to need to transfer these frames into a deep, or we're going to have to leave this setup as is indefinitely. And this is a medium on top of a deep. We could probably lift this box. Ah, gosh, that freestyle comb is going to be trouble for me. We might have to lose that chunk of comb transferring these bees over, and they're not going to be happy about that. But it's something we can figure out as we go. I'm going to see if the rest of these frames are built straight first and work backwards. Good and straight. Okay, we have a little cross combing on this one and this one. They've cross combed into the two different bars. So if I move this further, I'm going to end up shearing comb inside of there. And I'm really just disinclined to do that at the moment. Let's see if this one's same. So what I will do with this, what I might do is actually a reverse, because they've built this out. And if I put this on top, with luck they'll descend into the lower box and fill this top box with honey. When that happens, I can get back into this box and just do crushed comb from it to recover the frames and the space and make it inspectable again. I can tell you right now, I'd have to destroy stuff to inspect these frames as they are. Now, what can I do? I got a medium. I think it's a medium. Yeah, it's a medium with deep frames in it. Well, if you've got 3-inch rim boards, which a lot of us use as feeding eaves, A 3-inch attachment to a 6 5/8 box gives you 9 5/8, which is a deep box. So what I'll do is lift this up and put it on a feeding eek, and that'll make this equivalent to a deep box, and I can then put that wherever I need it and salvage the deep that's underneath of it. That's exactly what I will do. Let me go ahead and get a foundation frame for this outside spot and a blank top bar for this spot, just so the bees can attach their work to something to make it more stable when I move it again in the future. I don't think they got assembled frames and never waxed them. I think that's old wax moth damage in the lower box. That's my gamble. Just a top bar. All right, this is a 3-inch feeding eek, so I can use this to make a bootleg deep hive. This won't end in disaster at all. See what's hanging underneath there? And ideally, if I put it on this eek, it's not going to cause too much crushing and loss. This ain't going to be perfect, but consider the hive. It looks to me like they're figuring this out good enough. It's only been about 10 minutes. I kind of figured that top entrance would get used a lot just because that's where a lot of the smell of the hives is going to be coming from. They'll reorient these entrances and use them as they were beforehand. One of the things you want to watch for is you have enough of a gap between this and the inner cover so they can actually use that entrance. And that's at least a 1/4 inch gap in this one because the back is tight. So I think they're good to go. We'll let them figure out themselves for the rest of the year.
I will let these bees then build for the rest of clover and all that stuff and go through the late summer dearth as I would a normal colony. Now that we're in the fall and we're getting ready to take this stuff into winter, there's a couple more things I had to do to get it ready. One was feeding. This hive was light. It was only 57 pounds when I weighed it on October 4th. I've added 35 pounds of food to this hive, so they're in the safe range using one of those Miller top feeders that I like so much. They're still on this migratory top as their bottom board. That's fine. We have that chiseled opening here still that they can use as an entrance. But I placed 1/2-inch hardware cloth over that to keep mice from going in. There is an inner cover underneath this telescope top. There's also a piece of foam between those two to give them a thermal break so they don't get condensation issues over winter. And a lot of the bees still preferably use the inner cover's entrance. What these efforts amount to is preparing this hive for a successful winter. We've fed them up to weight, we have insulation on the top so they don't have condensation issues, and we've protected them from pest intrusion after rescuing them from under a porch and dealing with all of the oddball equipment issues that came with. With that, I hope we've given you some insight on how to handle these colonies when they come up, and I'll say good luck and happy beaking.